Sirius, a handsome man named Liam, originally a black phoenix, is the antagonist in my ongoing fantasy novel. Now he has entered my world. Sirius, help me find someone, or else I'll end you. Terrified, his long, strong fingers pressed against my neck as he leaned closer to my face, narrowing his captivating, almond-shaped eyes. His gaze roamed over me, and what should have been an intimate gesture felt overwhelmingly aggressive. I could even feel his warm breath on my face. Unfortunately, I was too weak to break free. Terrified, I will help you. Sirius, I nodded hastily. Then, this domineering phoenix declared he would stay in my house. Sirius, I will stay here. Reluctant, all right, you can stay. Relieved, with a wave of his discerning fingers, my shabby furniture was instantly covered with luxurious, exquisite rugs. Cheerful, wow, that's amazing. Sirius, Liam flashed a villainous smile, pleased with my compliance. I had no choice. I was afraid. After all, my dear son had turned against me. Sad, only 2 days had passed, and Liam's once captivating eyes were now filled with exhaustion. The cramped guest room and hard bed were driving the luxury-loving phoenix to the brink. Sirius, can't help it, I'm broke.
Liam frowned, unable to comprehend Emily's financial woes with his vast wealth. He handed her a handful of smooth, pristine pearls, followed by several gold bars, and finally toyed with a few jade rings.
Disdainful, is this enough?
Emily grabbed the items and, seizing the opportunity, held his well-defined hand, earnestly promising that they would move immediately.
Relieved, by the end of the day, Emily had moved into a high-end apartment and boldly filled in her name on the property deed. Satisfied, it's time to take action.
Emily listened intently, curious about whom her antagonist, who had seemingly leapt out of the book, was seeking.
Sirius, I need to find two people. One is the person who manipulates me at will. I want to end him. The other is...
Liam's ears turned red, his eyes becoming more tender and affectionate, his tone filled with longing.
Shy, my beloved. I need to find her. Puzzled, beloved? I hadn't given my antagonist a romantic storyline.
Emily scrutinized the character who had deviated from the plot and his persona, cautiously probing about the person he mentioned.
Curious, who is she? Shy, bashful, she has a lovely voice. At night, she calls me baby. Terrified, a chill ran down Emily's spine. Whispering both people he mentioned were likely me.
Besides writing, Emily had another side job, as a bedtime story narrator for children, not the inappropriate kind.
Reflective, I decided to write this fantasy novel during my most financially desperate times, and to earn more money, I tried voice acting.
The antagonist Phoenix was heavily criticized by readers, so Emily used him for practice. By day, she wrote, and by night, she imagined her antagonist as a pitiful little child, calling him baby, to lull him to sleep.
Sirius, I was the author, who could control his fate at will during the day. I was also the one who, at night, used to soft.
Liam didn't completely trust me. He tested me with stories from his past.
So, this one time, I had to hide in a cave for 3 days.
I put on a perfect act, always looking utterly confused.
Really? That sounds intense.
When he asked why I was always tapping away at my computer, I immediately shut it down and let it gather dust.
Why are you always on your computer?
Oh, just some old habits. I'll stop.
He often struck up conversations, and I was careful to avoid any slip-ups.
So, tell me about yourself.
Oh, nothing much. Just the usual stuff.
Liam stared at me for a long time before finally looking away. After several days of finding nothing, he shifted his focus elsewhere. I was still weighing the pros and cons of revealing my true identity when the antagonist dragged me out to search for people.
Let's go. We need to find them.
A mythical creature dragging a mere mortal around only leads to one outcome: the mortal gets exhausted.
I need water, and food, and a break.
The picky and extravagant phoenix would click his tongue and take me straight to a high-end restaurant.
Fine, let's eat. But don't embarrass me.
Although Liam often showed disdain when I looked at the menu with shining eyes, he would still let me order. Judging by his attitude, I felt I had passed his test. He probably believed I had nothing to do with either identity.
The side dish is not meant to be eaten.
Oh, sorry.
Liam crossed his arms and watched me, waiting for my next move. I simply wiped my mouth.
Anyone can come to a Western restaurant these days.
The sharp-eared mythical creature caught it.
What did you just say?
Liam tapped the table with his leg crossed, his oppressive gaze fixed on the waiter.
I'll get the manager.
The manager hurried over, hoping Liam wouldn't pursue the matter further.
Our restaurant owner is not an ordinary person. It's best not to offend people over such a small issue.
I felt a bit intimidated and signaled to Liam with my eyes to let it go.
Stand up.
Liam's imposing 6'3" frame completely overshadowed the two men. The waiter looked up at him, terrified. The manager took out his phone to call the owner.
Liam, please.
I quickly stood up and grabbed Liam's hand, anxiously squeezing his palm.
What?
A ringtone sounded from Liam's coat pocket. He leisurely answered the call.
The owner is right here. Who are you calling to complain to?
Liam hung up the phone, looking at them with a half-smile.
Are you trying to teach the owner and his guest a lesson?
The two men were nearly in tears, repeatedly bowing and apologizing to me. Once outside the restaurant, Liam criticized my peace-seeking approach.
You should have let me handle it.
I didn't want to stir up trouble.
Seeing he was about to speak again, I quickly covered his mouth.
Please, show some restraint.
The coolness of my palm pressed against his soft lips, and I recoiled as if burned.
What are you thinking? Helping me isn't for nothing. I'll be your support from now on.
His warm fingers and piercing gaze made me feel a sense of warmth. My cheeks flushed.
Just be mindful, okay?
Why do you care so much about the feeling?
After running for 2 consecutive weeks, I felt utterly drained and desperately wanted a break. Phoenixes love to hoard treasures, so I deliberately played videos of various gold and silver jewelry in front of Liam.
What are you up to?
Unexpectedly, Liam leaned in, his warm breath tickling my ear.
If you don't tell the truth, I'll make things difficult for you.
The ambiguous atmosphere suddenly turned eerie.
I rubbed my fingers to hint at him, while also trying my best to sell the idea, promising he would like it too.
Fine, I'll agree for now.
The 5-figure price almost made me faint, but thinking that Liam would be paying, I straightened my back.
Liam pulled out a bank card and placed it in my palm, instructing me to pay for both of us.
I widened my eyes, not understanding why he was pretending to be a big shot with my empty card.
Doubting me? There's a 7-figure balance in there.
Liam said he had recently auctioned off some treasures he didn't care for and easily became a millionaire.
Holding the card, I put on a show of changing expressions and eagerly went to settle the bill.
It's compensation for you.
It turned out that the Western restaurant from before was bought by Liam as a gift for me, but he was very displeased with the staff and manager's poor service. The gift hadn't even been given yet, and it was already deemed unpresentable. Such a situation was unheard of for the villain. I was deeply moved. I was worth so much in his eyes. If he knew my true identity, would my value skyrocket or plummet? I had once tested him, asking if he would get rid of the person controlling everything. Liam nodded without hesitation. I decided to cling to the villain for survival and vowed to protect my disguise. After returning home, I didn't hesitate and locked my old computer in the cabinet.
Liam thought my computer was broken and immediately gifted me a complete set of a certain fruit brand.
I set my birthday as the password, and Liam noticed.
Why use this number?
Liam had studied the real-world calendar and knew when his birthday was. I had written the villain's character profile on that day. My birthday was his birthday. I casually made up an excuse to brush him off, and Liam's eyes dimmed slightly.
He suddenly perked up again and openly asked for a birthday gift a month later.
Sing me a birthday song.
I shivered and firmly claimed I was tone deaf, opening an online shopping app for him to choose anything he wanted. The repeatedly thwarted villain turned away in a huff, muttering that it was fine. Why did he suddenly want me to sing a birthday song? During the day, I diligently accompanied Liam, running errands here and there. At night, I worked hard on my side hustle to save up some escape money. One can slack off, but never give up on making money, even with a financial backer. Liam started probing my voice again, and I quickly checked if my disguise was still intact. To avoid disrupting my nighttime money-making activities, I had soundproofing paper plastered all over my room and even replaced the door with a soundproof one. One day, I came back to find all the soundproofing paper torn down and the lock on the soundproof door broken. Had the antagonist Phoenix wrecked the place? I looked incredulously at Liam, who stood calmly by.
What happened here?
The cleaner we hired found the colorful wallpaper unsightly and removed it. I didn't stop them.
And the door lock?
I broke it. A new one is already on the way.
With no way to lock the door at night, even though I tried to lower my volume, the sound still seeped through the door crack into the keen ears of the mythical beast. Liam burst into my room, his eyes filled with a hope and anticipation I had never seen before, even a hint of shyness. Unfortunately, all he found was me, with messy hair and shabby pajamas.
I heard her voice just now.
Could it have been the "sweetie, be good" I used to coax a child to sleep? I quickly denied it, but Liam's long lashes drooped, revealing vulnerability and disappointment.
You must be mistaken. There's no one else here.
She promised to call only me sweetie.
The antagonist's eyes reddened, the proud Phoenix now utterly dejected. I widened my eyes, unable to recall ever doing something that would cut off my own financial lifeline.
She implied it.
Liam turned to ask where the voice was coming from, his eyes filled with longing.
I want to hear her voice.
Seeing the flustered antagonist, I decisively promoted my channel, even teaching him how to subscribe to the membership. Today's KPI achieved.
You can hear her anytime on my channel. Here, let me show you how to subscribe.
Liam's grip on his phone tightened, his knuckles turning white from the pressure.
Do you think she doesn't want me to find out?
That night, I dreamt of Liam. Back then, he was just a small black ball, an outcast in the Phoenix clan because of his color. One day, after being bullied, he hid alone in a dark cave, nursing wounds where his feathers had been plucked. It was then that I started practicing comforting people with Liam, but he took my voice as salvation, using it to soothe his wounds every night. It was the first time I realized how deep the wounds beneath the light words could be.
One day, I'll tear apart the one controlling me, and then be with you.
I woke up with a start, clutching my chest and gasping for breath. I wasn't confident that a few sweet words could secure my place on one side of the scale. I needed to find more ways out for myself. Thankfully, I always pinched my voice while recording, otherwise, speaking would have blown my cover. I groped my way out of the room in the dark to get some water and noticed a light in Liam's room. Upon closer inspection, I found he was repeatedly listening to my channel. It was 4 in the morning. Suddenly, I felt a bit uncertain about my judgment. Our birthdays were approaching soon, Liam's and mine. To avoid revealing my secret, I refrained from telling him that it was also my birthday. As soon as I got up in the morning, Liam handed me a check and told me to fill it out. Today, the antagonist seemed meticulously groomed, exuding an unmistakable sense of refinement. I respectfully thanked my benefactor. Liam looked at me with a hint of anticipation.
Do you have anything to say?
I took a deep breath.
Happy birthday. May you give me a check on this day every year.
Liam was momentarily stunned, a blush creeping across his face as he turned his head.
I understand.
I didn't delve into what he meant. Instead, I strained my voice to sing a birthday song in a different pitch. After my off-key performance, I looked up and met Liam's focused gaze.
It sounded great. Thank you.
I couldn't agree with the antagonist's taste, but I suppressed my feelings and thanked him. Later that evening, as I passed by Liam's room, I heard my own cringe-worthy singing coming from a recorder. When did he record that?
My mind went blank as I pushed open his door, only to see the phoenix fresh out of the shower. 1, 2, 3, exactly 8 abs, just as I had imagined.
Do you need something?
I declined his invitation to take a closer look.
A gentleman must maintain his decorum.
I tried to distract him while swiftly reaching for the recorder. But Liam had anticipated my move and raised his hand, using his height advantage to keep it out of my reach. Unable to stop myself, I ended up pressing my hand against his chest, pinning him to the bed. His muscles were firm and strong, and I instinctively gave them a couple of appreciative squeezes, feeling his heartbeat quicken. My eyes were level with his neck, where I saw his Adam's apple bobbing. Awkwardly, I patted him and complimented his physique.
Nice muscles.
Not a birthday gift for me? Are you in such a hurry to grab it because you're afraid someone will recognize you?
It's too loud. I'm embarrassed.
Liam cheerfully took out a pair of Bluetooth earphones and listened to it himself. I returned to my room, angrily closing the new soundproof door behind me.
In the early morning, still groggy from sleep, Liam suddenly grabbed my hand and teleported us.
Follow me.
He followed a figure into a jewelry store. Before I could complain about him following the wrong person, he abruptly pulled me aside.
Omething grazed the back of my neck, and the glass display case beside me shattered with a crash, shards cutting into my skin.
Pain. My foggy brain snapped to attention.
Get down, hands up.
From my years of watching the news, I guessed we were in the middle of an armed robbery. If it weren't for Liam, I would have been hit by that bullet. I breathed heavily.
Hold still.
Liam pressed his hand against the back of my neck, and the burning pain vanished instantly.
Crouch down now.
Ignoring my actions, Liam stood tall, eyes fixed on the robber. Having faced countless adversaries, he was unimpressed by this mere mortal's bravado.
The robber, enraged, fired his gun. Liam squinted his eyes.
The bullet slowed visibly, then followed a bizarre trajectory, hitting a wildly swinging balloon figure nearby. The balloon's burst startled everyone. The gang leader, furious, aimed his gun at me, who seemed less threatening, and fired several shots.
Without thinking, Liam lunged at me, pulling me to the ground to dodge the bullets.
My back hit the floor hard. Even with his arm cushioning my waist, the pain was intense. I didn't have time to check my other injuries. I grabbed Liam's arm, looking up anxiously at him as he shielded me.
Are you crazy? Why would you save me?
Liam's arm was firmly around my waist, his eyes bloodshot, chest heaving with emotion. Seeing I was unharmed, he relaxed his grip slightly.
You're safe now.
He snapped his fingers, and the guns were instantly dismantled.
The disarmed robbers were infuriated. They pulled out knives and hammers, violently smashing the display cases.
I reached into Liam's coat for my phone, using the chaos as cover to dial 911, quickly giving our location. One of the robbers suddenly swung a knife at Liam's back. Liam rolled us away effortlessly, but my phone slipped from my hand. From the phone, I could hear the police confirming the location again. I froze. Liam covered my eyes with his hand. Although I couldn't see anything, the scent of the sycamore trees around us made me feel at ease. I heard the sound of a knife dropping at my feet and the painful cries of the robbers. By the time the police arrived with their guns, all the robbers were writhing on the ground in pain.
Let's go home.
Back in the room, a warm glow enveloped me, and the wounds on my body healed instantly. The incident made it to the news and trending topics, but the restored surveillance footage showed nothing out of the ordinary. It all seemed like a coincidence. It was the illusion of a phoenix.
Liam, why did you save me at that moment?
He crouched down and patted my head.
I didn't want you to get hurt.
But weren't you afraid of getting hurt yourself?
Divine creatures don't get hurt.
Before I could hide my inexplicable disappointment, he wiped away the remaining tears on my face.
But even if I could get hurt, I would still want to save you.
The sincerity and affection in his eyes were almost impossible to conceal. My heart skipped a beat.
Rest well.
He stood up and turned to leave. I suddenly hugged him from behind, resting my head against his back.
Thank you.
Liam's hand, which was hanging by his side, clenched tightly for a moment before he turned around and embraced me. Our proximity became almost non-existent, and I could clearly hear his heartbeat. In the brief moment between looking up and down, our lips almost touched. My body stiffened, and he was equally stunned.
I really didn't mean to this time.
Liam touched his lips in a daze, and finally spoke after a long while.
Emily, why do you and she feel so similar to me?
My heart skipped a beat.
Maybe you've just met too few girls.
I joked, turning around to press down on my heart, which felt like it was about to leap out of my chest. I mustn't let him find out. I reaffirmed this thought once more. A few days later, Liam dragged Emily to a press conference. She stood there, disheveled, holding a sandwich, watching a glamorous girl on stage.
Hello, darlings.
Her voice was almost identical to Emily's. Liam showed Emily his phone. It was a high-profile impersonator who had reached out to him, inviting him to the event.
Did I find her?
Liam's gaze was fixed on the girl.
Found her? But I'm right here.
She turned to look at the girl surrounded by children, and the host called out Emily's stage name with a smile.
A children's voice actor being impersonated?
They stood out among the audience, especially Liam with his striking features. The girl noticed him, her cheeks flushing.
Is that young man also a fan of mine? Please come up and interact with me.
Liam glanced at Emily.
Go on, don't forget to give me a raise when you get back.
She watched Liam restrain his actions, and the sandwich in her mouth lost its flavor. Eventually, they exchanged contacts, and the event ended. In the following days, Liam was glued to his phone, seemingly not interested in running around the world anymore. Occasionally, he went out to meet that girl. Emily wanted to hint that he had mistaken her for someone else, but held back.
If he's distracted, he won't be looking for me, which is what I wanted from the start, right?
One day, Liam suddenly announced he was going out alone again, looking very serious. Emily glimpsed his WeChat screen, filled with chat records with that girl.
Good luck.
She spent the whole day at home, doing nothing, and stumbled upon trending news. The girl impersonating her had been exposed and publicly apologized on social media, even tagging Emily's account.
Sorry, I was indeed impersonating. I apologize to all the fans, and especially to the real one.
Emily sat up straight. Someone had gathered evidence and sent it to the paparazzi, who then exposed the whole thing. Among the evidence released by the paparazzi were Liam's chat records. Liam returned home, looking as calm as ever.
The voice wasn't right. She mimicked it well, but she wasn't the one.
But you haven't met her, have you?
Liam's intuition sensed something was off. He looked up at Emily, and she immediately shut her mouth.
How do you know I haven't met her?
He flashed in front of her, gripping her chin with a menacing aura.
You seem very eager for me to be with her.
Emily felt like prey under a predator's gaze, unable to move.
It's just your aimless search.
Do you love her for who she is or for her voice?
Liam was taken aback by her question, his grip loosening, his hand falling.
If it's just the voice, you don't need to worry about what happened yesterday.
Emily clenched her fists.
I can't ignore what happened yesterday.
Is it?
Liam and I seem to have suddenly entered a cold war, each of us going about our own business these past few days. One day, I went to the mall alone to buy some things, and accidentally bumped into someone. The person recognized me and raised an eyebrow, looking me over with interest.
Manager Michael.
Michael stepped forward, trying to make some physical contact, and asked with a smile how I had been lately.
Still able to find work?
I clenched my fists and told him not to worry about it. Michael lightly tugged at my necklace, chuckling as he remarked that it wasn't cheap.
Learn to follow someone now, have you?
It was the necklace Liam had helped me pick out at the mall that day, the most expensive one in the store. His gaze was critical.
I angrily slapped his hand away and took a step back without a word.
Michael grabbed me and touched my face.
Want to try with me? See who's better.
Before he could finish, Michael suddenly fell to the ground in a comical position. Liam had appeared behind him and was now crouching down to look at him.
You want to compete with me?
Seeing Liam, I found some unexpected courage to confront Michael.
What makes you think your grubby hands can compare to him?
Michael didn't panic. He got up and, with a calm demeanor, turned the tables on me, causing the people around us to whisper.
Is this how a weak employee slanders their former boss?
This time I wasn't going to back down. Whether it's slander or not, we'll find out in court. Michael looked me up and down suggestively, his gaze lingering on certain areas, and asked on what grounds. I didn't give him the satisfaction of seeing me angry. I simply mouthed the words, inappropriate behavior. After Michael left, Liam silently accompanied me to a nearby cafe. He didn't ask, and I didn't speak. We tacitly avoided mentioning the events of the past few days. Suddenly, I asked him.
Do you think I'm a coward for not confronting him directly?
Liam paused for a moment, then shook his head.
I believe you had your reasons.
Fresh out of university, I joined a company's project team, where Michael was the project manager.
If you follow my lead, there'll be no more problems with your work.
I lost my temper right there in the office, pointing at Michael and calling him shameless.
The next day, I was dismissed for negligence. Suddenly, without an income, I turned my side job into a full-time one, relying on writing to make a living.
No wonder you take such good care of your computer.
My eyelashes fluttered as I mumbled something to brush it off. When I got home, I immediately dug out my old computer and deleted all the original drafts of my novels, character outlines, and practice recordings before I could finally breathe a sigh of relief. I opened the door and found Liam standing there.
Need any help?
I asked him to lend me some money so I could hire a lawyer and gather evidence.
I didn't do anything wrong. I've been wronged for so long, it's time to resolve this.
Liam wrote up a voluntary gift agreement, which I found somewhat amusing.
I love more than just the voice, even though I've never met her.
The voice I found so grating was the strength that kept a young phoenix alive. So this time, I decided to use the villain's backing to fight back. I contacted other victims willing to come forward, gathered recordings and surveillance footage, and hired the best lawyer. In court, Liam stood behind me, giving me immense peace of mind.
Michael never expected to actually receive a court summons and pointed at me with a contorted face during the trial.
I listed the evidence and countered each of his points. Michael's face turned red as he waved his fists at me, but the nearby guards restrained him. After everything was over, I looked up at Liam.
I didn't agree to the gift agreement.
Cheerful, the editor informed me that a publisher wanted to discuss a contract for my book, and I was thrilled all day. Serious during an intense discussion with the person in charge, my phone buzzed with a message from Liam.
Reading the message, the robot vacuum went out of control, knocked open the cabinet, and damaged the computer inside. He's taken it for repair? Casually replying, okay.
Serious after the discussion ended, I checked my phone and realized something was off. Anxious, the computer locked in the cabinet. That could only be my old computer. If it was taken for repair, would the contents inside be restored? Terrified, Liam's number was unreachable, and countless possibilities flashed through my mind. Reflective, if it were the old me, my only concern would have been my own safety. But thinking back to Liam, I could only remember the person who stood by me, gave me gifts, shielded me from harm, and kissed me gently. I didn't want to lose him. Serious, when I got home, the only light in the darkness was from the computer screen. Liam stood in the shadows, his head lowered. Horse, don't come closer. Relieved, the person I've been looking for, is it all you? Sad, I sighed and stopped in my tracks, knowing the worst outcome had occurred. Serious, why? Sincere, to make money writing books. Every book with a protagonist needs an antagonist. I sincerely apologize. The antagonist's experiences were necessary for the plot. I would have written it the same way with a different character. Trembling, Emily, why did you call me, baby? Nonchalant, also, for money. After all this time, don't you know I'm a money grubber? Serious, I explained that choosing him for practice was a coincidence. What I said was true, but it wasn't the whole truth. Sad, then why did you want me to fall in love with someone else? Sad, Liam grabbed me, lowering his proud head, a few tears rolling down from his long, narrow eyes. Serious, I've taken advantage of you so much, I had to do at least one thing right by you. Hopeful, tell me the truth. Helpless, I just thought it wasn't necessary to make things difficult for you. Shy, being entangled in emotions with the same person, even thinking about it made me tired. Serious, if you fell in love with just a voice, wouldn't it be better to be with someone who sounds like it? Serious, Liam's palm had red marks from clenching. Stubborn, I don't care. As long as that person is you, I don't care, Emily. Serious, I couldn't react. Serious, if all the hardships were born to meet you, I would willingly endure them all. Emily, I love you. Understanding eyes seem to understand.
My fingers curled slightly, wanting to pull away.
Tightened his grip, not giving me a chance to hesitate or retreat. Do you know why I stay by your side?
To threaten me?
Pulled me into his embrace, and I listened, stunned, to the strong beat of his heart. Of course, it's because you are that voice.
He noticed something was off the moment he first saw me.
When I grabbed you, I didn't use any force.
But I had denied and rejected him too decisively, leaving the usually shrewd antagonist confused and hesitant, repeatedly testing me.
That girl, I approached her just to make her admit she was impersonating.
Liam wouldn't allow anyone to replace that voice.
Whether I'm the villain in the book or you can manipulate me at will, just don't abandon me. Liam rested his chin on my shoulder, his arms around me trembling uncontrollably.
So even a money grubber can have a moment of heart, I thought. I hugged him back and softly agreed.
I was lying, it's not that I don't have any feelings for you.
I personally smashed that computer. Because I was afraid something inside it might put Liam in danger.
Held my hand, blowing gently on my fingertips, and asked me with some exasperation if it hurt.
I looked up and smiled at him. I didn't want my antagonist to leave. Liam's kisses landed on my brow, my cheeks, and finally, my lips.
Can you take me away? I clutched Liam's clothes and suddenly spoke.
Liam left.
I'll be back within 3 months. And I promise, I'll find a way to bring you over within a month.
Feeling bored, I opened the novel where Liam resided. But it wasn't at the chapter where it had ended. I repeatedly pressed the page-turning shortcut key, but the screen still only displayed the ending message. The text on the screen was disappearing slowly but steadily. My fingers trembled slightly.
The content of the novel was diminishing day by day, and the comments and information about it were being gradually erased. It felt as if the world within the book was being peeled away from my world bit by bit.
I opened a new document, trying to continue the previous content, but found myself unable to type anything. It was like a countdown. Would the world inside the book disappear once all the content vanished? When only the last chapter remained, I sat there until dawn, only snapping out of it when the computer shut down automatically. Liam, I whispered his name. Why haven't you come back yet? This month clearly has only 30 days, but I've secretly given you an extra day. I closed my eyes drowsily, but before my vision completely darkened, I saw a small black bird. Was it an illusion? I stood up, but my head felt dizzy, and I fell forward.
In the next moment, the small black bird transformed into a magnificent black phoenix, flying towards me.
A faint voice called out to me. I struggled to open my eyes and saw Liam by my side, his hand tightly gripping mine. His almond-shaped eyes were red and weary from crying.
You're finally awake. I was so worried.
I slowly sat up and smiled, teasing him.
What kind of villain cries so pitifully?
I'm sorry for being late. I should have been here sooner.
Suddenly, an old man appeared. He was a familiar figure, the one who always handled things for Liam in the story.
Everything has been resolved. You can stay here peacefully from now on.
I looked around and saw several people surrounding me, all characters I had written.
We can now freely travel between the two worlds. But it came at a great cost.
My heart tightened at his words.
I spent a lot of gold and jewels. I'm almost a poor bird now.
I sighed in relief, realizing he was just teasing.
At worst, we can go scavenging together.
Later, Liam took me to his palace and proudly showed me his stockpile, revealing that he had been teasing me all along.
You can rely on me now. We'll live comfortably.
As the villain's partner, I knew I could trust him. He then casually mentioned wanting to visit the real world.
Would you come with me?
Yawning, I returned home to find that he had decorated the place beautifully. He was holding a bouquet, looking very nervous.
Would you enter into a phoenix bond with me?
His almond-shaped eyes were fixed on me. After some careful consideration, I realized it was a win-win situation.
Yes, I will.
After all, my villain said he loved me. How could I refuse? Nor did